dudes. I smoked a few fast dudes. PD was racing also.
And you beat Steve Pete, I believe.
Yeah. And at this moment, I think I'm a guy who if he gets opportunity, I would take it. They got me an invite to Downhill World Champs. Like, German Federation called me and was like, hey man, can you come to Downhill World Champs? I'm pretty bummed that there is no EDR this year. I've been to the bike parks before and like just rode a bunch of mountain bikes, but I've never literally pushed myself to say, okay, I'm trying to go there as fast as possible now. When I finish this, I will kill this guy. If I'm back at the paddock, find that promoter and just kill him.
Mani Lettenbichler, welcome to the Downtime podcast. How you doing?
Cheers, man. Pretty stoked to be here. It's definitely a blast to be a part of the Downtime podcast. So
I'm excited. And it's the first person we've had like coming from the outside of the sport, but definitely having feet in the sport. And I wanted to start there and talk about that. I mean, we're here at YT in the UK and you're an ambassador, an e-bike ambassador for YT, and that's why you're here at the moment. What is it that like brought you to YT? How did that connection come about?
Mate, I got a contact of Marcus. And I was like, there's like this YT brand. I already knew it from before. I was like, man, they built some pretty sick bikes. And then I think a friend of me like hooked me up with his number and I was like, I will just text him an email. And more or less I sent him an email. Hey man, I'm Mani Lettenbichler. I'm riding pretty decent moto, like doing Red Bull Erzgebirge and like some Red Bull Romaniac stuff and stuff like this. And do you think if you could be interested, like hooking me up with like a bike or like just anything? And I think like it took 2 hours. I got a response straight away from Marcus. He's like, oh man, I'm such a big moto fan. I just follow you anyways. It's like so cool what you're doing. And I was absolutely stoked when I read this. And he was like, yeah, no problem. We're going to get you hooked up. And I was like, sick. That's a pretty cool, like a cool start. And it was like 2018. So also quite a long time ago. And then they came up with the Decoy project bunch of years ago. And we're like, man, I think e-bike has an engine. You're a moto guy who rides normally with an engine. It's perfect fit. So we were definitely focusing on the e-bike side, on the e-bike ambassador things. And I think I definitely got a good part of the family, of the YT family, which is pretty cool to be.
That is amazing. Was e-bike something you owned before this point anyway? Like, were you using an e-bike in your program or not?
Never. Okay. So literally, with the deal, I got more into riding mountain bikes. And then also for sure into e-bikes, and I absolutely love it. Like, I think it's the best thing ever. Like, everybody who's still no e-bike back home, I think is so cool because you can just do way more things than with a normal mountain bike. And the coolest thing for myself, you can really challenge yourself, like also going up the hill. I think I'm like getting onto a limit with like a normal mountain bike where like, okay, this is just way too steep or way too like rutty and like techy that you can literally go up there with a normal mountain bike. So I was like, now we're talking, you know?
It brings the two sports a bit closer together, I guess, in a way, right? You can ride stuff that floats your boat that is more similar to what you do on a moto.
Yes, definitely. And you can almost like my area has like not crazy, like a lot of bike trails, like for example, like where we're at right now in Surrey. But I think there's so many cool hiking trails, and you can even ride up the hiking trails sometimes, you know, because you can like zigzag your way up. It's like almost riding hard enduro on the e-bike, and I think that's a cool part about it.
Yeah. And do you use e-bikes for training, or is it a fun tool for you? Like, how do you look at it in that mix?
I think for both things. Like, I'm still riding quite a bit of normal bikes. I think most of my friends there are still on normal bikes, and from a fitness perspective, I think I still would use both. I would, if I have like a day, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna do a cardio session, and like everybody's going like on a road bike, for example, on a gravel bike. Maybe it's still better, but you could almost get the e-bike out, because you can like literally go in like zone 2, just training, and you just control it with your engine.
With the mode.
With the mode. And I think that's the cool thing about the e-bikes, that you like almost can get a different training in, and you also, if you have like a rest day, for example, and you should chill a bit and like don't do like another sport, you know. Like I'm a guy who's like coming back home, he's like just from like a 3 days training trip riding moto, and then like, okay, I normally should do these things, like maybe do some emails and stuff like this, but then you're like just getting too excited if the weather is good, and you're like, okay, but I should really give my body a bit of a rest. What are you gonna do? Just jump on an e-bike and ride some trails
and still have fun.
That's the most important thing.
Yeah.
Stash Space Rails is the ultimate way to store your bikes. You can get more bikes into less space. It's really easy to fit, it's really easy to use, get to whatever bike you want exactly when you need it. Downtime viewers get 10% off their entire order by heading to stashproducts.co.uk/downtime and using the code downtime, all in capitals, at the checkout. Upgrade your bike storage today.
And you recently filmed an edit on the Decoy SNMX YT.
Yeah.
How do you feel about that? Do you feel a pressure when you're putting out an edit in a sport that isn't your like main sport, that either mountain bikers watch it and judge you, or the moto people look at it and are like, what's going on here? Do you know what I mean? Like, is there is that going on in your head, or are you just having fun?
I think I just have fun. Like, sure, you have to take care of what the other guys are doing out there, but at the end, I'm just going to do my thing. And if YT is coming up to me and is like, hey man, it would be sick if we going to do like a artsy kind of like a cool little edit, I'm like, yeah, let's do it, you know? It's just a sick opportunity to present myself into the mountain bike industry, and like to present myself into like completely in another way also, because like this edit what we did last summer was quite like super creative, and like not only fully about like riding, was maybe more just like getting some cool stuff in, and I think we definitely nailed it. And I'm always stoked to watch it also, you know. Anyways, like just filming in general, like, is sick if you see like the final product out there and you're like, man, we definitely nailed this, or we nailed this corner or whatever. I did like a little project in December with Schwabi and Sleeper up in Scotland.
Oh, sweet.
Yeah, which turned out really sick. And I took my normal e-bike up there because I was flying with it, and had to take off the battery. So I was like, okay, I will just take the big bike. But we were out there just ripping trails and like having like such a good time. And I saw the final product like 2 days before it launched, and it was so good. Like, it was just like punky and just rocky and like just shredding, you know. Like
Sleeper do a good job of that.
Yeah, Sleeper do a pretty good job with that, and it was just a proper shredder edit for the shredder tire.
Yeah.
So absolutely loved it.
I have seen that.
It went pretty good on social. I think it got like 1.2 million views on it.
Yeah.
Which is, I think, a pretty decent amount of numbers.
Yeah.
So was quite cool, you know, as a moto guy who's like ripping, and like so many people are like, what? That's you? You know, you're riding mountain bikes that good? Like, I got one phone call of one guy who's like, man, I know that you ride pretty good mountain bikes. I didn't know that you ride so good. I was like, I just tried to rip some corners, you know?
Nice. That's amazing. What else does being an ambassador for the e-bike side of things involve then? So you film edits and bits and pieces. Like, what else do you get involved in?
Yes, it's quite a bit of like product shootings, you know, even now especially for the Decoy SN, but also for the other bikes. Like in January, we had a big Chefsy shoot, so like all the pictures what you can see almost on the website, I'm in it, and it's then also just create cool content, be around, being like trying to make some cool social stuff as well for them. And if there's like a cool press cam coming up or whatever, I'm like always open. Like same thing as here, you know, like they called me, it's like, man, we're gonna do a cool launch of the new Decoy SN 29. I was like, yeah, sick. Where, when, if I have time. Is also, it has to fit into my schedule of like my main business, let's say. But I'm definitely always open to do cool things, and always open to meet cool people.
Yeah, we should talk a little bit about the new bike. We've got one sat behind us.
Yeah.
So yeah, we've talked about the SNMX, which is their kind of like hard hitting enduro bike, I guess. And they've just launched the 29 version of that bike, which I think they're calling like an aggressive trail bike, which makes a lot of sense having spent some time on both those bikes over the last few weeks. There's like the hooligan kind of SNMX, and then this thing just like still is a lot of fun to ride, but covers the miles a little bit lighter. Like, how have you found the two? Because you've spent a couple of days now on the 29er as well.
Definitely, and was quite surprised about the 29er. Like, I'm a motor guy, you know, I'm a big guy, like a big fan of a mullet bike.
Yeah.
But I was really impressed of the full 29er, and I think like you can see that the full bike is like they really thought about, okay, it's not gonna be just like a 29 with the same, more or less same suspension, like same kind of forward thinking. Okay, we want to have like a super aggressive enduro bike just on a 29. They really thought about, okay, we want to get like a trail bike, e-bike, mid-support e-bike out there, and I think that's a cool thing because they definitely ride differently. I would say both of those bikes. But like for example, like this trail is what we rode the last 2 days. Absolutely loving it, you know, because you just carry more speed, like it just rolls a bit better, and you can feel it's a bit more direct also. So big fan of it, and I hopefully gonna get one. Not sure. I was normally planning to get MX, but maybe I would probably change it.
It's a tricky decision between the two, right? They're both super fun bikes, and they both have like characteristics that are attractive. I think I would find it quite hard to choose between the two.
Yeah, me also. I think like yesterday I was like, okay, I think I will probably stick to the MX. Because I think me as a motor guy, also from my riding style, like I push the back quite a bit into the corners also. Like it's more or less the same as if you're on foot pegs trying to build up grip. So you like really just push the rear end sometimes just around those corners. And yesterday I was like, it goes like it's a bit harder to turn more or less. But at the end today, I was like, man, that's so sick because you just carry speed.
Yeah, I was surprised how quickly it changes direction as well. Like it's got like, you know, obviously a motor and a battery in there, but you don't really feel the weight when you're riding. It seems to have hit a sweet spot with the weight. There's something around that 19-20 kilos where the bike starts to like really come alive, I think
that's the main thing about the decoys in general. I rode when I got my normal decoy, like
the full bike,
bike now. I was so surprised how good the bike is balanced. So for me as a moto guy, I'm riding a bike which like my KTM 300 EXC is like a 110 kilo bike, you know. So you jump on an e-bike and it's like 23 or I'm not sure how many kilos, but it's still light, and you're like, man, I can like manual, I can almost do whatever I want, the same as on a normal mountain bike. And now this one, like the Decoy SN, for me is even better than a normal mountain bike, even that probably I'm not going to use the engine sometimes because it's still light, but you have a bit of this plush feeling. And I think for a lot of people out there, it's going to give this like almost like a bit more calm riding and a bit more comfort also. Because you don't feel the weight so much as on a big e-bike. Let's say it this way.
100%. And you've fully committed to e-bikes, and you've done a couple of EDR World Cups. Talk us through that experience. What was it like? I've raced the normally EDR, but not or enduro EWS as it was then, but never done an EDR.
I did like two, so like both of them in Leogang. The last 2 years. So in like 23, 24. And we came up with this idea. Actually with YT, I said it would be pretty cool to do a race, like a UCI race one day. I know that with the ages, the guys are so fast, but also I think KTM would be a little bit stressing about it, if I'm to be honest. But I think in like the normal, like the EDR is for sure, it gets kind of a traction on it, but it's not as big as downhill. So that's why I said, okay, let's just do an EEDR. So I did the first year, and I absolutely was impressed how hard and how long a day can be, you know, even on an e-bike. Like it was hectic. Like we had to change the battery once. Like we were just hauling up the uphill stages. You could really see that you have to get a good line in an uphill stage to don't lose any time. And those guys are still so fit also who are doing the EDR that sure the bike is helping you, but you still have to push yourself and put those watts into your legs to like still get the speed out of it. So it was quite cool. I think I both years I finished mid-pack.
21st both times, yeah.
21st both times, around like 40th people or something like this. So I was like, okay, that's good. And if I'm to be honest, I didn't practice at all for it, you know? So I literally, I didn't, like in 24, I did like 2 days before, like really maybe focusing on like a day of like, okay, we do like 5 trails, we like trying to do uphill stages. But there was no preparation at all because I didn't have time. Like I was so into my like racing super enduro, then like straight into testing with KTM, then like just didn't have like so much time riding mountain bikes. So like out of a sudden there's like Leogang, and both years Red Bull Erzgebirge, our biggest race, is the weekend before.
Oh, right. So you're coming straight off of that into
You're coming straight off the biggest race of the season, you know? I remember 2 years ago, I went back on like Sunday night from Erzberg, got a win there, which was just unbelievable, you know, second win in a row, and then driving home. And then you're like almost, okay, the next chapter, I have to pack all my stuff tomorrow morning and leave to go to Leogang in the afternoon. And like, I think practice day was on Wednesday.
Okay.
So it's like 3 days of the biggest event
It's a fast turnaround
of the season.
Yeah.
And you just show up like still pretty tired, but you're like just having a laugh. And the coolest thing about it, racing it, that all of the racers and the riders, they were so hyped about it that I was there, you know? It was like so cool to see that everybody was like, oh man, so sick, can we get a picture? Like,
really?
It's so cool that you're here and support also our sport. And you could see that for them it was quite a big topic. And last year was a bit hectic because I started first and Martin Mace started right behind me. And he won the day in Leogang for sure because he's one of the fastest guy out there on an enduro bike.
Yeah.
So yeah, was quite stressful. I said a couple of times, man, if you catch up to me, just scream as loud as you can and I let you pass. And I think it happened like twice. So
it's quite intimidating having someone like Martin Mace chase you down a hill, right?
We were starting out like a minute apart and had like a full day of just riding together, you know, like in between the stages, had a good chat, like was pretty cool to hang around. And for me, is not even like what I'm learning out of mountain bikes. What I can bring into moto is also like meeting different athletes of different categories where I can learn from them, you know, how professional they are in their discipline. And I think that's a really cool thing what I noticed over the past years, which mountain bike is already, but for example also what Red Bull is doing with it. It's so cool because you just meet different athletes from different disciplines and you know what they're doing. So, quite cool on it. I'm pretty bummed that there is no EDR this year, which is surprisingly strange from my point of view. But
you thought the format was good, and
I thought the format was good. I thought almost they could change a bit the format. I think they could almost like in Moto, like enduro, we have like a sprint race. Mm-hmm. So you like just jump from stage to stage, so you miss like this like big loop, which enduro is also known about it. But I think for spectators you could almost do like a day where it's like 3 stages right next to it, you do like an uphill stage in between, and people can just walk like 20 meters or like 50 meters over and you see a different trail, you know?
Yeah.
And I think this could be a pretty cool thing to bring spectators into enduro.
Yeah.
But at the end, maybe you would also lose riders with it because it is also a participant-friendly sport. Like Hard Enduro is the same. Like we go to races where pros racing with amateurs. Mm-hmm. And I think this is also a cool topic about it. And I think this is maybe what is super important also for the future to keep the enduro thing maybe alive also. You don't know where it goes. I hope it keeps alive because it is such a cool participant friendly sport where you can it almost has to be super easy. You like don't even need a license for it. You should just sign up for a sick day of riding, and maybe mates can go there and can just have a sick day of riding with bunch of cool people, and maybe they start like 2 hours after one of the best guys on the world, you know?
Yeah, that's the cool thing about it. When I did the EWS, it was the same, right? Like everyone was there.
Yeah.
Like the top riders in the world were there. We were there as total, you know, amateurs basically.
Yeah.
Everyone was hanging out. Everyone was having a good time, supporting each other. It was just a really nice event to be at. And it's a tricky one. We all want that to continue for sure, I think.
Yeah, I think it is a tricky one. And I think it's pretty difficult to know what the right direction is. But at the end, you have to try one direction and see if it goes the right direction or not. And for me, as like a outside guy, is like not. I know the industry pretty good, but I'm not fully in it. I don't live from mountain bikes. It's quite cool to see, and I think sometimes it's pretty good to have a different perspective on something. So I know that our sport is also in a moment where we change quite a bit of different things, and we now as athletes have to look, okay, what are other sports are doing? What is like a skiing competition is doing? What is like a mountain bike competition doing? Like where, like even surfing, or for example, you know, I think if there's like a moment where you can see it's not going that well, okay, maybe we can learn out of different sports to make it even better.
100%. And it's not always F1 that we should be comparing to. I think that's the thing, isn't it? Like as a sport, it's nice to think you're going to be the F1 of cycling or whatever, but I'm not sure it's always the healthiest comparison.
It's pretty hard. It's for sure good what F1 is doing, but at the end is also completely different fan base. It's completely different zone where the people are in, and I think it's quite cool to be professional. It's somehow because they are super professional. Yeah. But also maybe you lose a lot of spirit out of it. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. We should talk a bit about downhill because you've done a bit of that as well. You're a Fox athlete through your work in Hard Enduro. And you obviously have been to the Fox US Open as a result of that the last couple of years. How was it? Like, did you enjoy getting involved in downhill racing?
That was so much fun. Like, really, that was so much fun. I think Fox called me. They were like, hey, man, Fox US Open, we're going to be the main sponsor. Are you fancying doing it? Check my calendar first. Then nobody's going to get mad. I said, yeah, sick. And then actually YT called me also, hey, do you think you can go to Fox US Open? I said, flights are booked. I already go. So he's like, okay, that's pretty cool. And we had such a good time. Like me just hanging around with the Fox crew. Like PD was racing also.
And you beat Steve P, I believe.
Yeah. We had a pretty good internal battle. We called it the Whiskey Cup. I'm not sure if I'm allowed to say it, but we called it the Whiskey Cup. It went a bit wild already, like 2 days before the race, and we were just joking around. Okay, the guy who's winning, who's gonna get a bottle of whiskey, because we're sure not gonna race for the podium. So we said we're gonna make our own podium. That's way cooler, and call it the Whiskey Cup. So it was me. One of the Shaw brothers, Walker, Walker, PD, and Husky. Yes, and Austin Hoover. From Fox, and I think that's pretty much it. Yeah, and we said, we're all in the Whiskey Cup, and me and Husky were a pretty good battle, I think. And I beat PD at one downhill race, which is.
There you go. You won the Whiskey Cup.
Nah, Walker won the Whiskey Cup.
Oh, did he? Oh, yeah, he was a few places ahead, right?
Yeah, he was a few places ahead, but I was still stoked. I think I was I'm not sure even the result, probably 16th or something like this.
Yeah, 16th.
Not the top 10th, but top 20. And I was like, sick.
There's some big names there as well, right?
There were some big names, and normally no preparation for it, so that was definitely a pretty cool day and a pretty cool adventure, and I never expected that I'm gonna love it. I also realized how much sprinting it is.
Yeah, okay.
Because my sport, we have the Super Enduro races, like the indoor championship. Yeah, it is super sprinty. So it's like a 100-meter sprint run. Okay. But all of the hard enduro stuff is more or less like a marathon, Like you're out there for a bit longer, you settle yourself, and there's just all out. And I think if I would be a bit more focused on sprinting, I would also get better in it. But I'm a my body is like an old train, you know. Like at one point it like takes a bit to like proper start up, but if it started up, it can go forever.
You're a big diesel engine.
Yeah, I'm a big diesel engine, I would say.
Love it. And the first time I came across you actually was sort of through Downhill.
Yeah.
So during COVID, Win put on his It's Not a Race event in Schlabning, which was clearly a race.
Yeah.
How did you end up getting involved in that?
I got friends with Win just over social, I think.
Okay.
Like literally just text him on social media, and he was at Erzberg a couple of years ago, and like the whole Kiwi gang a little bit, they almost know each other.
Yeah.
So he sent me a message. He was living in Salzburg at this moment. He was like, hey man, I'm gonna do like this race in Schlabning, are you fancying coming? I'm like, yeah, why not? When is it? Yeah, it's like 2 days. I said, that's a pretty late invite, but why not?
Yeah.
And it was so much fun because it was the first time I've ever raced like downhill in like on a time.
Okay.
Like more or less we had a couple of goes, and it was like a time session training, and I didn't expect that it's gonna be so cool, you know. I've been to the bike parks before and like just rode a bunch of mountain bikes, but I've never literally pushed myself to say, okay, I'm trying to go there as fast as possible now and see what the time is.
Yeah.
And that was pretty interesting. Was quite cool because I ended up doing a pretty good job with it.
You smoked a few fast dudes?
I smoked a few fast dudes. Like for sure they were also training and testing a lot.
Yeah.
But I was
and
like,
it wasn't a race.
And it wasn't a race. So I was like, man, that's pretty cool. But this year I also rode a lot of mountain bikes because it was like the lockdown year where I also had to stay back home and we were not traveling so much for like riding motorbikes. So I really were like, okay, I can't ride motorbikes at my home place, but I can ride mountain bikes at my home place. So we were out just like riding as much as possible. And I felt like this year I got way better on mountain bikes also. So it was kind of like a good timing.
Yeah.
Where I know, okay, I can't get injured because, or like I shouldn't get injured. You have to like take care about yourself. You know, it was maybe more, okay, there's anyways no race going on. I can literally just give it a go.
Yeah.
Yeah. And that was a good year.
Yeah, and that got you an invite to Downhill Mountain Bike World Champs.
Yes, that got me an invite to Downhill World Champs. Like
that's amazing. That's a cool phone call to get. Hey,
it is pretty cool. Like, just German Federation called me and was like, hey man, can you come to Downhill World Champs in Leogang? It was in Leogang this year, where Reese won.
Yeah.
And they called me and was like, hey man, can you come to like Leogang Downhill World Champs? I said, for what? It's like, yeah, we saw you doing pretty good. You can race pretty good also. Would you be keen to like race for us? I said, whoa, good question. And at this moment, I think I'm a guy who if he gets opportunity, I would take it. Like if I would say one guy is like, hey, let's jump out of an airplane, maybe I would have a little bit of a thought, and then like,
YOLO.
Let's go.
Yeah.
You know, and it was the same kind of thing. I said, yeah, okay, I will give it a shot. And it was a bit of a bummer because I got injured then this summer, training motocross, torn 2 ligaments in my thumb. And then would have been the first thing after my injury would have been racing a Downhill World Cup, like World Champs, which is not my sport. And at the end also KTM for sure was also like, man, you were just injured for 6 weeks. You're not gonna end up doing a Downhill World Champ race the first time after injury. And I said, okay, this makes sense.
Yeah, not a smart move probably.
Not a smart move. And now I am also understanding it way more because I think I understand the business also a bit more.
Yeah.
That, is not my main business. So I can totally understand that they also would say, okay, now this is not a good idea. Yeah,
fair. Let's chat a bit about your main business.
Yeah.
Is hard enduro the right term?
I think so, yeah. I think it's hard enduro and extreme enduro, hard enduro, like the guys are calling it. But is definitely my main business.
Okay. So I'm not an expert on this, and I assume some of our listeners won't be either.
Yeah.
Can you explain the sport, the discipline a little bit? Just give us some background on like what it is you do for the main job.
The main job. Yeah, I think to explain like hard enduro, the easiest way is more or less you're riding the gnarliest terrain on earth on your motorbike.
Yeah.
That's pretty much it. You like have the gnarliest uphills, the gnarliest downhills. You have like rock sections which are like kilometer long, like really. And then there is just like trees, like everything what you can't imagine where you can ride a motorbike. We are doing it. And I'm also sometimes at some races where I'm like, what the hell I'm doing there? That's so dumb.
Really? Like it's that extreme?
It's that extreme, yeah. It's that extreme. I'm like, how is this possible, you know? This is just not right, but at the end it's also such a kick because you really challenge yourself also. You're in a race and you know that there's competitors and it got way more tight with competitions, with like everybody get fitter. We see it as in downhill or like other mountain bike races, you know. Also in our sport this happens. So there's like no time for any failure or like any little problem or like any little wrong, maybe like a navigation problem.
Okay.
You really have to be spot on. But then in some ways you almost fight against the track because it's just so gnarly and so difficult. And then the track is sure the promoter also.
Yeah.
So you more or less fight the promoter in your head, and it's like, I kill this guy, you know?
When I finish this.
Yes, when I finish this, I will kill this guy. If I'm back at the paddock, find that promoter and just kill him. But yeah, it's a wild sport.
Yeah.
I think the cool thing is that a lot of mountain bike guys, they follow our sport also.
Yeah.
Everybody loves it. Like there's so many guys who are riding motorbikes, even if it's on a motocross track or going out there in the trees and ride some gnarly like hard enduro stuff. Like I met up with Brendog yesterday and he did like a super enduro race.
Yeah, I saw that.
Yeah, he did a super enduro race this weekend, which is pretty cool, you know, and he's going to do Romaniacs this year, and they're like, he's super fired up to ride motorbikes.
Yeah.
And it's quite cool to see like those guys, you know, like having a sniff into my sport and having a look there. And there's a lot of guys from mountain bikes who can ride enduro pretty good.
Yeah. And are these the sort of events that like a lot of people are not getting to the end of? Is there like a high attrition rate?
There is definitely the gnarliest race is Red Bull Erzberger Deal for our sport. It is the gnarliest race. Maybe not physically, but from track wise.
Yeah.
There's like 500 starters. There's like actually 2,000 starters. Then they go through qualifying, which is a fast race, and the first 500 go into the main event.
Okay.
And the last couple of years was like 15 people are finishing it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And how long are you out for on the bike in the main race?
Total race time is 4 hours. Last year was pretty long.
Yeah.
Last year, I won the race now 3 times in a row.
Yeah.
Which is, for us, is like the holy grail somehow, you know. There's no prize money of the race.
Okay.
Which is, for me, a bit dumb. But you just get a rock. And if you have like a number rock back home, you're like, okay, I tick this off.
That's that's a big deal.
Yeah, it is a big deal. So, I won this last year and it took me almost 3 hours.
Okay.
So there is not a lot of time to like get finishing for another hour. And I think it was like 8 people last year or something like this who finished the race from like 500.
That's insane.
Yes. So
how are you fueling and hydrating for 3 hours on the bike? Because you obviously don't want to pull over and stop, I guess. Like,
Nah, normally just having a camelback with us.
Yeah.
And just me drinking.
Okay.
Yeah, drinking a lot.
But drinking like a carbohydrate drink, like super carbs or something. Yeah.
Carbohydrate drink. I normally put a bit of a sip of Red Bull in also.
Okay. Yeah.
Just because of the caffeine and the bit of a sugar.
Bit of boost.
Bit of a boost. And then there's like this one brand. It's called Powerhouse. It's like a German brand, and they have like these gummy bears, which are like caffeine gummy bears, and I always glue them onto my handlebar.
Okay.
Because they're like the bottom side of those gummy bears, they're so sticky. So you just lick them and you like press it onto the handlebar and they're fully fixed.
And they'll make their way around a hard enduro with you.
Yeah,
amazing.
They're at every race on my handlebar.
Yeah.
And because now it got so professional that there is no time to like stop, take a bar out, or like you're at the service, get a bar in. Is okay, if there's like a flat piece, you just take it off the handlebar and you're off again. So this is how professional it became, which is pretty cool to see, you know?
Yeah, that is cool. And you've got hard enduro in the blood, right? It runs in the family.
Runs in the family, yeah. My dad used to be one of the best guys out there. We were both coming from trials. So he used to be one of the best German trials rider. Then he also got a call of a sponsor. He's like, hey man, have you ever heard from Red Bull Erzberger? And he's like, nah, what is it? Yeah, there's like a crazy race in Austria. If you're keen to do it, he's like, yeah, we'll give it a try. And this was 2006, so he was already back then, I'm not sure, like mid-30s.
Mm-hmm.
And he got second straight away behind David Knight, like an English guy. And from this on, his like hard enduro career kicked off. And it's pretty cool to see, you know, like it was for me never the dream to become like a professional motorbike rider.
Okay.
I think I came in so naturally. Like even my dad never pushed me into this direction, which I'm super proud of, because he always supported me with every kind of decision what I made. So I was always used to ride trials, and hard enduro was his kind of sport.
Okay.
So I said, yeah, that's pretty cool what he is doing, but I'm riding trials or racing trials. And then, for example, when I was 15, I said I don't want to ride bikes anymore. I just want to ski. So I had like 1 year where I wanted to become like a professional free ski guy, you know, like just doing tricks and like going over rails and stuff like this. And the year after, I missed it so much that I came back and I really got into hard enduro. And then he brought me to Red Bull Erzberger, finished it with like
the
16 years.
youngest person to finish?
Yes, youngest person to finish with like 16 years old. And from then on, my career kind of also supernaturally started because I got a bike from KTM. My dad used to be a KTM factory racer as well. So they said, your son is also doing he rides also, right?
Yeah.
And my dad was like, yeah, sure. Yeah, we hook him up with a bike. So I was like, that's
Sweet.
pretty cool.
Yeah.
That's pretty cool. I take a free bike. And then had a gear sponsor back then, just from like material wise, and Red Bull came up to me in like 2016 in 2015 when I was 16 still then.
Yeah.
They were like, hey, we're trying to support you for a year, let's see where you go and maybe it works out.
Okay.
And I was like, yeah,
Okay.
Why not? And I was still in school there. And at this point I was like, okay, will I do a carpenter training? I was always into like working with wood or something like this, or gonna go a bit more longer to school, or what's the deal? And then I was like, okay, I will just give it a try and see where it goes. And yeah, 2 years later, we were pretty much top 5 in the world. And then another year later, we were like top 2 in the world, and then 1 more year later I was like the best in the world. And now we have been on a pretty high level of like racing dirt bikes and trying to kill it at every race as good as possible, and really also seeing these positive things. And that's why I'm appreciating the sport quite a bit, because it was never the dream and it became such a cool thing. And I'm just loving riding dirt bikes or riding bikes in general. And that's such a cool thing to say, because I made my hobby as a job, and it was never the plan.
It came your way by the sounds of it. You didn't force your way in. It found you.
Yes, it found me. And I think in Moto is really a lot of people are getting forced into it, and then they lose the drive when they're like 20 or like 21.
Yeah.
And I just started from there, you know, and that's a pretty cool thing. And I was never a guy who's like, man, my motivation is to win races and like beat the other guys. My motivation was always like, okay, I go out there, I will give my best, and I'm trying to be happy with my best. Because if I'm not happy, or like, sure, now you end up at like a position where you win every race, or in like 23 had like a perfect season. Not a lot of people have done this in the sport history, and you win every race, and like you're such on a high level of like, you don't know what to expect, and then you get second one time and you maybe are bummed about it. But I actually said I was keep winning in 2024, and then this one moment came. I said to my girlfriend, I was like, I think it's gonna happen this weekend, and she's like, what? I think I'm gonna lose, or like I'm not gonna win the race. Sounds stupid that I will say I'm gonna lose. It's just like I'm not gonna win a race because everybody's just expecting it. And she's like, "Yeah, really?" It's like, yeah, but I'm totally fine with it. And if it happens, we have to party hard.
Okay.
Just because I was like, I'm on such a high, and I'm like feeling confident. I will give my best. But if it happens, I don't wanna be mad about myself that I haven't done better.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Was it relief?
Was almost like a relief.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Because I imagine the pressure just increases on you. I think Rachel Atherton spoke about this, right?
Yeah.
She had a really long winning streak.
Yeah.
And I think she was kind of glad when it was over.
Yeah.
Because people just expect, like, they expect it anyway. And then the more you do well, they expect it more. And it becomes like, well, clearly Mani's going to win.
Yeah.
And that must be horrible as the actual racer to deal with that pressure.
It's such a, like, it became so normal also for the team, for everybody. It's like you go to a race and everybody's like, even the team is like, they don't never say that they put any pressure on you, but they, like, everybody's more or less expecting it. And also yourself, you're like, okay, yeah, I think I will kill it. I will give my best, and I will beat the other guys. But I'm not sure why you're like really focused, and it puts so much pressure on you. And like this 23 season, I won every race, and I became world champ the weekend before, like the second last race. So I came into the last race and I won 5 races out of 6, and it was my home race. And like everybody, I won in the years before, and everybody was like, oh man, you're gonna win it anyways. And you go there, everybody's talking about this perfect season, are you gonna make it or not? And the pressure was so high, and I was so relieved when it was over that I just cried. I was like completely emotional then. I was like, I'm so glad that this season is over, and I never expected it to do this. And then we started in 2024, and it's like just started winning again. And I was like, how is this possible? How is this possible? And I got like injured mid-season, missed one race, came back. I had like a meniscus injury.
Yeah.
Had an operation 5 weeks before Red Bull Romaniacs, which is definitely the toughest, gnarliest, longest race out of our calendar. And I came in and I was like, yeah, it's gonna. I think this was also the moment where I'm like, okay, it's gonna happen. I'm not gonna win it.
Yeah.
Boom, another win. I was like, how?
How does this work?
How is this works? And then I was so just fine with it, like not winning anymore. And I just really tried to enjoy it as good as possible. And it was a really like a good relief of like not being at the top anymore. I'm still at the top, and I'm probably still the guy to beat, but I'm just like, okay, guys, I'm beatable, you know?
Yeah. Yeah,
That's
it
a
takes
cool
a
thing.
little bit of the target off your back kind of thing. I wanted to talk about that final race of your 2023 season. So that was your home race, Getson, right?
Yes, Getson Lido, right.
You had, first off, very cool kit from Fox.
I had a really good kit of Fox, yeah. Lido's kit. If you guys haven't seen it, you should definitely check out some pictures. It was so cool because like we came up with this the year before. Like, hey, it would be cool to do a signature gear. Maybe do like a Lido's and like a full Bavarian kit style gear. And they're like, yeah, sure, we're gonna do it for the race. And then we got so much hype about this gear that we were like, okay, we have to come back. We made it even better. And then they also said, yeah, we're gonna make a small margin on it. So we had like, I'm not sure how many sets there were, but people could buy it like super limited of the local dealers. And it was so cool, you know, like how many people have like a signature kit with a brand like Fox.
Yeah. And a signature kit with a bit of a sense of humor as well. Like the Lederhosen kit is a good bit of fun, right?
Yeah, it is a good bit of fun, and that was a pretty cool thing. And I think now we're working so closely with Fox also that I think these guys are doing such a good job because they treat me like I would be like a Supercross guy, you know, like in the US. Like there's for sure the main guys for Fox is like now is Jorge Prado, Ken Roczen for sure is like one of the main guys out there. Then in like Europe we got Tim Geiser or the whole HRC guys, and it's off-road guy like me in it also, you know, like we got all of his motocross guys, and then they have like this one off-road guy who rides over rocks and like uphills and downhills, and they're like, man, you're gonna be treated the same as the other guys. You're like such a big part of the family, and it's pretty cool to say to be a part of the Fox family. Yeah,
that is really special. So you're at Getson, you're in the coolest kit you can possibly get.
Yeah,
I think you won the prologue, you won the first race, and then the second race you race the lap in the opposite direction.
Exactly. Yeah,
and there's a fair battle going on between you and Billy Bolt here.
Yes,
right? You're like swapping the lead.
Massive battle, and you guys can't imagine how hard this race is, because there's like the prologue the night before, which is more or less like a show event, and then we do like a 2 hours race in the morning. It goes from 10 to 12, and it's already brutal. Like it's pretty technical and like really difficult, and you push yourself. You don't want to over push yourself, and then there's like a 1.5 hour break, and you start into another race which is 1.5 hours long. And you're so exhausted already that you get into this race. And me and Billy, we battled so hard. Like we really went back and forward all the time. We had to do like an X loop. It's like an extra section.
This joker section.
It's like a joker section, yes. Where you had to do it once in the race, and it was like a super difficult uphill. I think Billy was leading at first lap, and he went straight in, and I said, okay, I will follow him, because then it's done and I'm not going to lose him later if there's any traffic or whatever. So it was us two in the choker lane, and it was so difficult that we had to help each other up there.
This is the bit I wanted to pick into, because in mountain biking, we talk about like everyone's friends. Mm-hmm. It's just against the clock. We're not against each other. Yeah. And that sort of makes sense. You guys are on the same track at the same time, head to head, and you're getting off bikes, stopping, running down, helping each other, picking bikes up this section. Talk me through that, because I find that it's beautiful to watch.
That's pretty special.
Yeah. It's incredible.
It is really special, and I think this is the cool thing about Hard Enduro, because it's not like it's motocross that everybody's just doing his thing. There's a lot of people around the track, and I think they have way more of like a fight going on. And I think we have a lot of respect for each other, because we sometimes, like Romaniacs, for example, is a really good example, where in the middle of the trees, in the middle of nowhere, if really something happens, the next guy is going to be your emergency guy.
Yeah.
And it's more or less the next rider. So I think that's why the respect is so high in Hard Enduro, and it makes it a bit more chilled. For sure, there's some riders where, they're not your best friends, or you don't train with them every day. But for example, me and Billy, we were now the last couple of years more or less the leaders of Hard Enduro also, and tried to push ourselves after COVID year. We were training a lot together. We were pushing each other. I think we definitely stepped the sport into another level also, and we're still good friends. Like I got invited to his wedding last year to South Africa, and like we have a good laugh about just anything, you know, and that's a cool thing about it. But if the race is on, we're still professional, we're rivals, but we have a lot of respect.
Yeah.
And in this moment, if you like end up at a situation where you realize that it's just so difficult that you almost can't make it up, you're like, you need help? Yeah. Okay. Yeah. And then he helped me first.
Yeah.
I parked my bike at the top, walked down and helped him up. And I think it's like a bro code almost, you know, like you really have this respect for the rider, that if you say you're gonna help me, I will help you.
Yeah.
And I think that's a really cool thing to say, because I also couldn't just rode off. But at the end, it's really about just respect for each other, and I think more or less everybody in hard enduro would do it.
Yeah, that's really cool. It's a good sign of a healthy sport, I think.
Yes.
So you did reclaim the lead. You're coming into the last climb, I think, which was this like super slippery, very steep piece of wood with water running down it, and that's standing between you and the perfect season.
Yes.
What's going on in your head?
Yeah, like the second last lap, I passed Billy for like a pretty good lead. I could see that he also got tired pretty good, and I was exhausted, but I was like, man, it's just one more lap. It's one more lap to go, and then you end up at this like shitty wooden uphill piece where they build like a water mill, just something like spectacular at the end. And I made such a big mistake at the first one. Like really, I started and it was so slippery that I almost looped it out, fall into it. Like there were like 15,000 people standing there just watching us. Like this race is insane from the fans. So like everybody is like, this year is the last edition. So if you're in Germany in like October, just come by because
sweet.
Yeah, it's definitely worth it. It's so good to watch. And second time I got up there and I was like, man, I'm a badass. I'm a badass guy. I was literally like going through the finish, and I was like, we made it, we done it. We showed that we are one of the best guys out there, and we made history. And I think history like this is pretty cool to tell, you know, maybe one day in my grandkids or something like this, you know, like, oh man, back in the days, you know, your granddad was pretty badass guy, you know, just ripping around on the mountain bike, on a motorbike. And I think that's a pretty cool thing to say.
It's going to be a very good story, mate.
Yeah.
Well worth the hard work. And there must be a lot of hard work that goes into it, right? Fitness is a huge thing for you guys. How do you train for a sport like that? Like, what would a week of training in the off season look like for you?
Yeah, so a normal week would be like 3 days, 1 day off, 2 days, 1 day off. I think that's a pretty decent thing. And then it really depends the race. Like if there is like a race going on which is super long, you definitely want to ride a bit more. Then there's riders out there who are only riding. But me, I'm definitely going into the gym, got into stretching, which is super important. My girlfriend is a physio. She actually works for the YT Mob, and she really got me into like, okay, man, you should stretch a bit. You're a bit like an old guy. And I was like, oh shit, this is not good to hear, you know? So trying to definitely stretch, gym, and then mountain bikes. I think this is probably one of my biggest passion, or in general, like being out there in the mountains. I grew up in the mountains, and like everything which is like hiking, like a bit of climbing, like riding mountain bikes, like being on a road bike. Last year I was riding road bikes quite a bit because of my knee injury.
Okay.
But I'm definitely like mountain bike riding is a huge topic of my general training also.
Yeah. How do you think that fitness would cross over into like downhill as a discipline, for example? I mean, I think the track you raced in Killington was maybe on the more pedally end of things. I don't think it's a huge hill.
Yeah.
World Cup maybe a bit steeper, a bit more gravity fed into it.
Yeah.
Do you think it would cross over? How much do you think you'd have to change in the way you prepare?
Just sprinting, like I said before, that
getting that power move kind of stuff.
Get that power move, get those legs like just like quick and like I'm trying to do that, but at the end you also end up at like your rhythm where you don't want to change a lot, you know, where you're like so focused in you're doing a good job and the results are there, your training is going good, and you almost don't want to change zero because you know it works.
Yeah.
So I think this is a topic where if, let's say, okay, we cross over to mountain bikes, for example, it would be a lot of sprinting, a lot of like quick reaction, like lifting, like just trying to get the explosiveness of the muscles.
Yeah. And Ken Roczen recently talked about the potential for entering a downhill World Cup, which definitely put the cat amongst the pigeons.
I saw that.
Yeah. Like, do you think Supercross is a more natural crossover to downhill, or do you think actually hard enduro is maybe a better preparation ground?
I was quite surprised when he said that, because like I'm not sure if you have seen quite a bit of downhill World Cups, but if you're there, is gnarly.
Yeah,
It is gnarly, and the guys are gnarly. I think from like fitness wise, Kenny's one of the most fittest guys out there, in like probably motorbike industry at all. Like, he's riding so good right now. He's absolutely killing it at Supercross, which is pretty cool to see, you know. But I think from like technical riding, he rides mountain bikes pretty good. It's pretty cool to see. I've never rode with him, but I would really like to ride mountain bikes with him one day. But I think from like reading lines, reading terrain, like having more routes, like step downs, like drops, like rock gardens, I think our sport is a little bit more, let's say, a bit better crossover. But from riding wise, I think from fitness wise, definitely Supercross guys are way more explosive
power.
Yes.
Yeah.
So not sure how good his riding skills are, but it's definitely a bit of a different thing than riding ruts and jumps and corners, than going through rock gardens and like really feeling your front just like hitting every rock and it goes sideways. I think this is where Hard Enduro really covers more, let's say, of this riding part.
Yeah, and line choice, I would imagine, like the ability to assess a trail, both when you're stood there looking at it, but also when you're moving into it.
Yeah,
like that's something that I would assume, like you learn to read terrain as part of your support. Your sport. Sorry.
Yes, this is probably one of the main topics. I think that's why I'm also pretty good, because I can read the terrain pretty good, and I can say, okay, we can like open up the corner there a little bit to jump over this little rut, because this rut would like kick my rear wheel off to the left or to the right, and I would lose like a couple of tenths there. But I think things like this, I'm not sure how good he would be in, but I think we definitely know how to read like off-road terrain, or like more or less a hill.
Yeah.
And this is what downhill is about. Like, they go track walk and they're like, okay, the track is also changing quite a bit through like a race weekend, but you see the race and you're like, okay, there's like so many different lines, bunch of guys taking a different line, which is fitting more or less the best for the rider, but you really have to read the terrain, and you really have to know what all of these different materials are doing to your bike, more or less.
Yeah, totally. What would have to line up then for us to see you at a Downhill World Cup one day? Do you think it will happen?
I would like to, maybe. I would definitely like to.
I think the sport would like to see you there. I think you'd be welcomed.
It would be pretty cool. Maybe I would have definitely not have a chance, because the front runners are just they're insane. They're killing it.
Yeah.
They're like Bruni's, for example, a good friend of me, and we rode like 2 years ago in winter one day, and I'm like, how is it possible that you go so fast? You know, it's like stunning to watch also, and like you're trying to like keep up with them just on an enduro or a mountain bike, and you're like, this is impossible, you know. So it's really, really cool to see. And I think this year I was at Leogang, I was in Andorra World Champs, and I visited Greg there, for example. I was like, hey man, this last race probably.
Yeah. Well, I'm not sure. I feel like he's going to dip his toe back in the water at some point.
We're gonna see at the end. But I said I'm definitely gonna come out, and I checked out the track, and I was like, man, this track is gnarly, and these guys are absolutely risking their lives. And like Ronan said, for example, at Red Bull Hardlands this year, just like, okay, don't fuck around, my friend. It's time to shine, you know. It's time to go. And
they're all in.
Yeah, they're all in, and I think it's so much commitment. But it would be pretty cool to try it out. Like I would be definitely cool to try it out, even if it's just for video, or like a cool, let's say, a cool story around it, and just maybe showing the people that I'm not slow, but I'm also realistic in some ways, that it would need a lot, or maybe it wouldn't also never happen because I never tried it, but it would need a lot to get there.
Yeah.
Because they do their sport, I do my sport.
Yeah.
Where I'm good in it, and they definitely know how to go fast down a hill.
That is for sure. So what is next for you, Manny? What have you got coming up? So what's coming up for me? I'm like
let's see what we're gonna do, because our World Championship called off this year, which we're gonna find out what's happening exactly. But there's sure enough racing going on, and we definitely focusing on the big races. Red Bull Erzberger is 1 week before Leogang again, so that's gonna be definitely one of them. The main focus on it. Romaniacs, and we have Getson Rio the last time ever. Then there's like a bunch of other cool races. We're probably gonna go back to Red Bull TKO, Tennessee Knockout over in Tennessee, US, and there's enough races going on. I think with a bit of a change this year with our sport, which maybe opens up a bit more opportunities for other cool stuff, and I'm always open for everything. So I'm quite excited to do some cool stuff, a part of racing and a part of riding dirt bikes, and I'm quite curious, but it's definitely time to like get into like a proper pre-season training. And I was long injured now with over the winter, where I'm excited to get my body first of all fully healthy, like get just ready to like just go and like be there, wake up, and don't have any problems with a wrist or with an ankle, or don't feel a bit sick. Like I'm quite excited to get like this pre-season proper starting, and and then all of a sudden is anyways race time.
Excellent. Good stuff, man. We should start wrapping up. We've got our final 4 questions. We've asked a lot of people over the years. The first one of those, if people had £150, which I think is about 180 euros to spend on improving their performance on a bike, what would you recommend they go spend it on?
I think a good training day with like a good rider, probably. Like just like a sick guide day, more or less. I think there's so many good riders out there who also know how to explain, because there's a lot of riders who are out there who they know how to ride a mountain bike quick, but for them it's hard to explain it. Like also for me, I'm doing training school sometimes, and it's like, just ride up.
You just do it.
Just do it. But I think this would be a pretty cool investment, where I'm like, okay, man, just have a good day out with somebody who's like knows what he's doing, maybe can transfer it to yourself, to like have, okay, man, maybe you can move your body over, or like get the elbows up, or I'm not sure what exactly, but I think this would be a good investment into yourself to just improve your skills. But at the end, skills are the most important thing on a mountain bike.
Yeah, for sure. All right, second question. If you could wind back the clock and sit down with yourself age 16, what advice would you give him?
Oh, that's a good question. Just enjoy it. Just enjoy it as much as possible. Like
you seem to be making that happen pretty well, right?
I'm trying to make that happen, but there's always also sometimes where you don't enjoy it anymore, you know, where you lose this a bit of like this lack of motivation. But at the end, if I would have 16, I would just say, just try every opportunity what you get and make the most out of it. I think that's a cool thing to say, and I really tried this, and I'm still now, I think I'm so long in the sport and like in like this industry that you get to know the business a bit more also, and you really understand, okay, that's my job. I'm gonna do this, and no matter what, you know. But at the end also, like 5 years ago, for example, I was like, just like, you're way more loose, and you're just like, don't think about a lot of things, you know. But you realize way more what is coming, what is good for a brand, what's the best situation, how to put a brand into a good light, like don't make stupid things, and all of those things like just give you a pretty good attitude, and gives you also like a good topic that the brands are saying, we are liking to work with you.
Yeah, which is important, right?
Which is
that's
important.
Ultimately how you do what you do.
Yes, and you don't ride... I'm not going to ride motorbikes for forever, you know. There's one point where I'm also have to be realistic and saying like, okay, what's the next chapter? And what it comes, I have no idea what comes, but I'm definitely trying to be open for everything.
Yeah, and you've been building great relationships with brands that you've been with for a long period of time. Like something will come out of that, I'm sure, when the time's right. Yeah,
definitely. So quite exciting. Still gonna ride some mountain bikes for a bit longer. still gonna race some motorbikes for a bit longer, but it is definitely excited. Also, maybe what's coming afterwards, because in my sport I achieved quite a bit, and I almost have to push myself to give me those goals to really say, okay, what's the next goal? What's the next chapter? And yeah, I'm curious. You have to be open-minded.
Good, man.
Yeah.
I like that. All right, third one. If you could have a coaching session from anyone, past or present, and let's make it a mountain bike related thing you want to learn, who would you choose and what would you want to work on with them? And again, you've ridden with some pretty incredible guys over the years, right?
Yeah, I've ridden with some pretty incredible guys over the years. Mountain bike related.
Yeah.
Okay.
Is there a certain technique or skill or something you want to learn?
Good question. I rode with quite a bit of guys actually already.
Who have you learned the most from, would you say?
More or less, they don't train me, so we literally just go down a hill and they're off.
But following someone, you pick stuff up, right? Like you're looking at what they're doing with lines and pressure and weight. And
yeah, you definitely learn quite a bit from them. But I think from like mountain bike related, what I think who did a massively good job is I think Brendog is a pretty good example, because he stopped racing and he's still being so involved in the industry. He's he's really good connected. He's I think he knows how the business works also, like we talked about it. And I think there's a lot of things where you realize he sometimes have no clue maybe, but he's just doing it and it works out. But it's cool to see. I think that's a cool thing to see, where you can learn quite a bit out of it. Even that there is sometimes no proper plan behind it, but this is life. But this could be a pretty cool example. Or at the end, there's like so many focus guys out there, like Loic or really like Amaury or these guys. They're just machines and just like full on racing, full commit. That they have like this proper plan. But it's quite a big question and quite an interesting question, which goes into a lot of directions. But I probably have to find it out first.
Fair play. All right, last question then. What is something you do every day that you feel benefits you?
What I do every day.
Are you a habits kind of guy?
I am. I think what I'm doing every day is a good question. I feel like I'm trying to sum up the day sometimes.
Okay. In what format? Like, how does that look for you? Yeah,
it's just like at night, I'm going to bed. I'm like, okay, what was the coolest thing today?
Nice.
What was the day like? What are the positive things about today? Maybe you had a shitty day training, or you had even normal guy like a shitty day in the office, but you're just thinking about all those negative things. And I think if you're back home or like just before you go into bed, it's like, okay, what was the good things today where you could really say, hey, it was a shit day, but we made the most out of it.
There's got to be something in there.
There's got to be something in there, even if it's just maybe like a 5-minute coffee break at one point, But I think this is a cool thing. And sometimes like me or like I ask my girlfriend or she's asking me, I'm like, hey, what was the best thing today? I was like, was probably just this like 10 minutes sitting in the sun at like midday after lunch. And it was just like, just chill and like so quiet and so calm. But like just these little things, sometimes we don't see them anymore because we're such in a rush all the time, and you lose like this focus on like seeing those little things. So this is, I think, super important, and a lot of people should do this. And I think this is a pretty good tip also to give out to the people, that they should see the small things out there in life, which are sometimes look like normal, but they're actually pretty good.
That is a great answer, mate.
Yeah.
I like it a lot. Well, it's been absolutely fascinating finding out more about you and getting to know you a bit, mate. Thanks for taking the time to sit down and chat. If people want to follow you and watch your sport, like where's the best place for them to head?
Definitely check out my Instagram on Mletti 3 or 4, and just check out everything on Red Bull TV. Just put Hard Enduro, and then you can see quite a bit of madness there, which is pretty cool. And I'm absolutely stoked what we already achieved. So stoked on it.
Yeah, and there was a great like half-hour documentary about your perfect season, which I think is on the KTM YouTube channel.
Is on the KTM YouTube channel. That's definitely a big goal, or like a big project what we had, which we didn't expect that it turns out like this. So it's super cool documentary on the YouTube channel, and you should give it a watch. That's actually a good thing.
Nice.
Thanks for the reminder.
I'll stick a link to that and a link to your Instagram in the show notes so people can find that. But yeah, thanks, man. All the best for a good season, and hopefully we'll see you on the bikes as well too.
Yeah, cheers, man.
Nice one. Cheers, Manny.
Perfect.